toast, are we?
No, we're live. What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Sidebar Cantina Sports podcast. I am Mr. Jason Roscom. With me here each and every week, hang on.
You got something for this?
Hold on. I'm trying to think of a good one. The Rob Gronkowski to my Tom Brady, Dave Martin. Hello, Dave.
Fuck off. I'm not going to be any kind of association with a Patriots player.
Well,
that's fucking nonsense.
I mean, you could have been the Golden Tate to my Carson Wentz, but I don't know how well
that
would
work out so well.
Yeah. So, how are you?
I could be the emergency surgery to your Alex Smith.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And we will get to that. Holy fuck. So, give you a brief introduction. This is the first official spin-off podcast of the All Things Star Wars podcast. As you may or may not know, Dave and I do All Things Star Wars, the greatest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. Started talking a lot of sports during the Star Wars podcast to the point where we decided, fuck it, why don't we just do a sports podcast in addition to the Star Wars podcast? This way we can separate the two topics. This way the Star Wars fans don't get pissed off about the sports talk. And this way the sports fans don't mock us for all the Star Wars talk.
Yeah, and not that we've gotten that feedback yet, but I mean, I know me personally, it was like one of those things where I felt like the sports was starting to get like into the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
And granted, some of the topics were a little bit thin, so maybe it was easy to go into it, especially now we're in the studio. But
yeah,
I think this could work, especially with next year, us having a fantasy, league within the All Things Star Wars Sidebar Cantina.
Yep.
So I think it's gonna be good.
And just good stuff. In case you were thinking we were going to talk all sports, now we're primarily going to focus on football, college, and NFL. If we decide to branch off into other sports, I don't know if that'll ever happen because really I barely follow football enough as it is.
Yeah, so. This is kind of a reawakening of Jason's like footballness.
Yes, because I mean I used to be a huge pro football fan for years and years, and then it kind of started falling off. Not even fuck.
See, no, you yell at me for shit like that.
Oh, we'll try to fix that in post.
No, you won't. No, you won't. There'll be a couple of things that happen just like in the All Things Star Wars podcast. A, we never fix it in post. And B, there will be sidebarring, hence the Sidebar Cantina Sports Show, and rants. There'll be lots of that.
Yep.
Rantlers.
So for anybody new to Dave and myself, we'll give you a quick intro. I am originally from Bakersfield, California, so I am a fan of the California teams. Been a San Francisco 49ers fan since I was probably 8-9 years old, something to that effect. A lot of dad issues with that. Long story short, I ended up being a 49ers fan to try to get my stepfather to love me. Didn't work, but I kept liking the 49ers. So
wow, okay,
yeah. Whenever the Los Angeles Lakers are doing well, I follow basketball. And
of course you do.
And I'm
fucking California.
And my father's family, they all love the Anaheim Angels, or are they something else now? Are they the LA Angels? They change their fucking name every couple of years.
Los Angeles.
The Los Angeles. Remember they used to be the Anaheim Angels, and then before that they were the California Angels. Remember that?
Yeah.
Anyway, I kind of hope they win when baseball season comes around, but I'm really not that invested in it.
Mike Trout.
Yep. And we are located in South New Jersey, right over the bridge from Philadelphia. Hence, Dave, his Eagles get up that he's in, and I'm sure he will get into all of his sports fandom.
I will.
Starting now.
Starting right now?
Yes.
All right,
now.
Now, what do I click? All right. So yeah, hence, as Jason alluded to, I was born in Philly, raised in South Jersey. So I am a Philly sports fan. Eagles, Phillies, Flyers. I'm not an NBA guy, so I doubt we're going to get into any NBA shit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if for some reason the Sixers materialize into a reasonable team, maybe I'll pay attention to it, but probably not.
Yeah,
I stopped watching the NBA when Charles Barkley, left for Phoenix. So that's what's that. I'm a Penn State football guy. Lots of family lineage in Penn State. My father went to Villanova. So I'm a big Villanova basketball guy, probably bigger than I am Penn State football guy, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So we may get into some NCAA basketball. hockey season, when it starts getting to a point where maybe we can have a conversation about that. I know Tony Ferrari was interested in that, being a Canadian.
Yep.
So maybe we get into that, maybe we don't. We'll see. This is going to be a very informal sports talk thing, and the disclaimer is that, as I said in the notes, we're only going to talk about shit that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
This isn't a fucking sports wrap up thing for all the fucking sports teams, all 32 teams in the NFL or whatever. I mean, if somebody really makes a compelling argument for us to talk about something, then maybe,
Sure.
and then maybe next year when we're a little bit more invested in the fantasy shit, like I threw some stuff in the notes because I have a fantasy team and our old squadron that Jason used to be a part of that he won a couple times. So I figured we could talk about that a little bit. But for the most part, yeah, it's going to be shit that we want to talk about. So, meh.
And sidebar, so
Of course.
with the fantasy stuff, I actually do have things to talk about this year because my wife, she is in a fantasy football league this year, and I got to listen to all of her shit all the fucking time. Last night, oh my god, I'm up 51% to 49. Oh, now I'm projected to lose 40% to 60. Apparently, Ben Roethlisberger has been, amazing at times and a nightmare at times for fantasy owners.
Has been. I mean, isn't that his entire career?
Pretty much, yeah. So I will have some inputs here and there as far as fantasy football goes. But first, we've got NCAA on the docket first.
Yes, if I had kept my notes up.
Yep.
Well, we want to talk about a basic format of the show. I guess we kind of hit that.
Yeah. And it's going to be short too. We're going to keep these 30 to 40 minutes because we do have another podcast we have to tape that's not sports. So
exactly. Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah, really, the nexus of this really comes down to it's Star Wars nerds talking about sports.
Yeah.
So that we can do this in this podcast and not do it in the other one.
See.
3PO. So, the basic format and what we're kicking around is scores and standings type thing. You know, what's been happening. What's the haps. The scores and standings, rants as appropriate for those things.
You will get lots of those with this guy right here.
Goddamn.
This is only for the YouTube audience. If you're listening to us on the audio, you will not see me pointing to Dave.
The other person that's talking right now. So like I said, some fantasy talk, and then we're gonna have a conversation topic. It's just something that Jason brought up. Hey, maybe we can talk about this.
Yeah.
And depending on what's relevant at the time, I think that particular topic was actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Given how we have to watch our football.
Yeah.
So,
and I did a modicum of research about it too, so I will have more things to say.
Great word.
It is.
That is a really good word. We'll save that for the Jason Reads Dictionary podcast.
Yep.
Coming post haste. So
hold on, let me write this down.
Hopefully you can hear that.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just jump right into it.
All right, let's do it.
With some NCAA shit. So I guess I'll talk about this stuff.
Yeah, you should just take the lead. Yeah.
All right. So first things first, for not because it's more relevant than the one or the other, but we'll talk NCAA first. Do you know what NCAA stands for, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
That's all I have to say about that.
That's what I thought. So I was going to put something in the notes, ask Jason what NCAA means, but then you would have saw it and actually Googled it and then would have pretended like you know it, but I know he didn't know it. So Jason, what he didn't mention, obviously, so here again.
Here we go.
With his modicum of research, he is proving yet again that the Michigan football team that he allegedly roots for, he didn't even mention in his introduction.
No,
didn't even mention it.
I just figured it was
because
implied.
He's not a Michigan fan.
I know Michigan is still number 4, and they're taking on Ohio State this weekend, who's a ranked team.
There's a bunch of dead bodies that also know that information. that is like all you have to do.
Stanley? What are we talking about?
Oh, too soon. Too soon.
All right, can we get on with this, please? This is not the Dave mocks Jason for 30 minutes podcast.
Usually it is.
Okay, well, true. Let's try to steer away from that for now.
So, and please hit us up on the chat and harass us like you do. Fuck. There's Russian in there, and
it's Orange Jacket guy from Boise State, so don't worry about it.
That's fine. I just it takes me too long to translate it in my head, and then I don't know what the word means. I can say it, I don't know what it means. Anyway, so I'll start with Penn State, number 14 ranked Penn State, which is almost irrelevant, really, when it comes down to. 4? It's irrelevant.
Okay.
So the only one that's relevant, honestly, to me is Boise State cracking the top 25. I think that's important. More important probably than Penn State beating Rutgers this weekend, which, oh, by the way, they tried to fucking lose that game. I know
Penn
you didn't
State
watch
did?
it. Yeah, it was ridiculous. So quick note about my household, right? So my daughter goes to Penn State, my son goes to Rutgers, right? And so there's a little like Rutgers made this fucking rivalry, right? This is a sidebar, but it's relevant to the actual topic. So when my son went to Rutgers his freshman year, right? One of the things that they just got into the Rutgers had just gotten into the Big Ten, which is it's a football conference.
I know what the Big Ten is.
Okay, fair enough. So I know I'm just making sure, we got to start somewhere. And so Rutgers, when he got there, it was all the incoming freshmen, all their pep rallies and everything else were like, fuck Penn State, right? So they're trying to build up like there was this rivalry between the two schools.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Penn State has been consistently, in the top 20 teams in the nation for way longer than, Rutgers touts itself as it's the birthplace of football and blah, 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 whatever. They have a really nice stadium. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
So, but it's not State College, it's whatever. We can get into that as we go along. But so what I'm trying to make a point of the story is, so Rutgers has made this Penn State game try to be like a rivalry game for them. Meanwhile, Penn State has fucking stomped them into the dirt every year.
Right. So it's a one-sided rivalry. It's a rivalry in Rutgers' mind. Penn State's just another throwaway game.
Which is made some great memes. However, fucking Penn State went in there and was, once again, like it has most of the season, it was just, for whatever reason, decided it was going to show its ass and really tried to lose that football game.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State's defense actually showed up and embarrassed Rutgers, basically.
Yeah.
They scored, I think, one touchdown. What was it? 20-7. So, and that was that was a throwaway touchdown. But the reality was the score shows it being pretty close, and it was a lot closer than it should have been. We should have fucking kicked them straight into the river.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. So this is indicative of Penn State season this year to me as a Penn State fan. It's like, it's been disappointing. They are not play calling properly, which I'm going to talk about with the Eagles as well. And it's just been a disappointing season. Now, saying that, are you familiar with the New Year's Eve bowls?
Yes.
The New Year's Eve bowl games. So, see, he says it with authority, like he really means it.
I know what a fucking bowl game is, goddammit.
Do you know what the significance of the New Year's bowl games are? The closer you are to New Year's, the more money you're going to end up getting.
I did not realize there was a money issue there.
Yes. That's all these bowl games. That's why they strive to get these bowl games, because it means money for your program.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And the players get paid and everything.
No, they don't.
Oh, sorry.
That's a whole nother discussion topic. So, God, there's so much going on. I can't even look in the dead bodies. Did they vote? That's funny. No politics on the any of the All Things Star Wars products. Anyway,
unless we bring it up.
So Penn State still has a chance to get to a New Year's Bowl. That's what I was trying to bring up there.
There's a roundabout way of getting there, but
based on their record. So they're going to get to a bowl game. They're going to finish successfully. I'm hoping, because they got Maryland coming up, and Maryland's fucking. I didn't really do any modicum of research on Ohio State, but I can tell you that Maryland ran. They had running back ran for like 239 yards in the first half against Ohio State. Ohio State still managed to win, of course, but I hate a fucking Ohio State. I hate the suck eyes with a fucking passion.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where the team we're getting ready to talk about, the Michigan,
woo, go blue, and Maze.
It's terrible. I don't even.
What?
He just does it to himself now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So talking about Michigan briefly, they beat Indiana, whatever. They tried to lose that game too. Quite frankly, all the teams that were supposed to win big this week in the Big Ten really struggled in these games. And it could have been like Michigan struggled until I think the fourth quarter, just based on looking at the Big Ten highlights as I was on my Big Ten network.
Yeah.
Ohio State obviously struggled, and Penn State struggled against Rutgers. So these are all very winnable games on the schedule. So as far as, Michigan had to win to maintain their opportunity to play in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Playoffs,
the college football playoffs.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't a sexy win by any stretch of the imagination.
That's what we need on the soundboard. Sorry.
Playoffs.
Squirrel.
So, yeah, fuck Michigan and fuck Ohio State. As I put in a note, and I genuinely mean this, I hope Michigan and Ohio State get the shits and can't play. Or let the bands duke it out.
Just ends in a tie.
Just, yeah, whatever. And for one of our loyal All Things Star Wars podcast listeners, our West Coast PR guy, Bronco Fett, who is a staple at the Boise State football games.
Yeah, a frequent guest, well, not guest, but a frequent appearance on ESPN or whoever is playing the Boise State games. You will see him in his Boba Fett painted in Bronco colors, hence Bronco Fett. You can follow him on all the social media, as well as his brother, Orange Jacket Guy.
There you go. Big shout out for Boise. They handled New Mexico State easily. I like the fact that they're in the top 25. They hopefully they can creep up with some nice wins like that. They'll get sex points.
Sex points? How do you acquire these sex points? Please tell me.
Apparently you have to, you know what? I'm not even going to say that. I'm not even going to say anything. We have to make a determination how not safe for work this podcast is going.
We've already said fuck like a dozen
times. Have we really?
Oh, yeah.
Shit. I was actually trying to censor myself a little bit.
You said fuck like 3 times in the beginning, and I'm like, we probably should have caveated this whole thing with not safe for work. We don't watch our language. Fuck off.
There's no Z in Boise. Listen. I already mispronounced so much shit in the Star Wars universe. There's no sense in correcting.
Plus, he's from Philly. I mean, come on.
You should hear how we say some words. Like, I'm going to say water.
Yes, I was just going to say the water thing.
Water.
Yeah, the way they say water down here. What the fuck? Remember, I'm from California. I speak normally. These fucking weirdos out here in South Jersey, PA, whatever.
There's all sorts of California bullshit that I could spew out right now, but I'm going to go ahead and not say it. Save it for the other podcast.
Right. All right. Anyway, are we going to migrate to the NFL now? Is that what's going on here?
Yeah. I mean, let's look in the chat.
Okay.
Anything that needs to be brought up?
Well, you're catching up on the chat. Holy shit. Okay. So first of all, I watched my first NFL game of the season yesterday because I just haven't been into football for the last couple of seasons, even though Dave and I still talk football.
He canceled his cable subscription.
That was a big thing. We cut the cord. It had nothing to do with football, but we just decided, you know what? We're killing cable. We're only going internet and streaming. It's been great, by the way. I was just having this conversation today, too. No more fucking Real Housewives of fucking Hoboken or Real Housewives of fucking Greenville or whatever the fuck those shows are. There's so many of those stupid ass Real Housewives shows. Ugh.
You don't have to watch them, Jason, just because they're on your
They're
television.
Still on in the fucking background when I'm in my room trying to have some peace and quiet, and I hear all these fucking skanks yelling at each other in the background.
So let me get this straight. You canceled cable because your wife was enjoying the television.
That was just a perk of canceling the cable. But I digress. See, sidebar. That's why it's called the Sidebar Cantina, because we go off on a lot of these sidebars. So cut the cord a while ago. Haven't really been able to watch NFL much. I bought one of those HD antennas, which is actually pretty fucking good. If you don't have a cable service, but you have an HD TV, get one of those HD antennas.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if he was the one who recommended it.
I was. I even sent you the link to Amazon to get the one that I was using.
I have no memory of this.
I know you don't.
So anyway, I hooked up the old antenna last night to watch the Eagles games, to watch the Eagles play the Saints. And as it's coming up, something happened. Oh yeah, one of the Eagles players kind of tweaked his fucking ankle on a play. One of the defenders in the end zone.
You could say Eagles secondary, and that applies to basically they could put an entire dime package together with all the injured defenders.
Yeah, and what did they get? Like 8 more injuries last night. But anyway, they were showing the replay of this in slow motion. And I text Dave as the game's going on. I'm like, ooh, man, I really didn't need to see that in slow-mo. And he's like, oh, well, go watch the fucking Alex Smith thing if you want to see something good. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Then as soon as he says that, I see the fucking banner on the bottom of the game. Breaking news, Alex Smith, broken leg, fucking out for the season. I'm like, uh-oh. So
breaking news.
He I can't remember what the conversation was, but he kept saying stuff. I'm like, I really shouldn't watch this.
Hang on. I'm going to tell you exactly what I said.
Okay.
Jesus Christ, did not need to see that in slow-mo. Then I said, don't watch Alex Smith. Don't watch Alex Smith replays today. And he says, "Oh, it was bad. I saw he got injured." And I said, "On the anniversary of Theismann snapping it, Alex did. It was gross. Go ahead and Google it." And then Jason replies, "I'll probably regret this."
Yeah.
And then, 2 minutes later, fuck! Why would you tell me to watch that? And then I retorted with, you wanted to.
Holy shit, man.
That was gross, man. Oh,
that was fucking brutal. And I'm watching that. I'm like, hey, how is he ever going to play again after that?
That's a great question. And it came up. I was chatting with one of the other people at work about it. And, Theismann, like when that happened to Theismann, now granted, Theismann's break was a little bit more severe because he had a compound fracture where it actually broke the skin and fucking embedded in the fucking dirt. That thing was horrific. God. I still say, as gross as Alex Smith's injury was, because you could watch it in HD.
Yeah, and watch his leg bend the way it's not supposed to bend.
The fucking foot flopping around like that. Oh, because he went down and he started to roll over, and you're like, oh, that didn't look that bad. And all of a sudden you see the legs flop out from under the pile. Like, oh, shit.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, ugh. But
that was fucking bad.
It was bad.
Blah. Oh my God.
Solsi says that he will recover. He will recover quickly. It broke the best way possible. So that's the thing. So if you're going to snap your tibial and fibula, you might as well do it cleanly so that they can surgically repair it. And hey, Bob's your uncle. You're back playing football again. Hooray.
Yeah. Okay.
Fuck that. Just the fact that had happened, you have to go into I'd have to see a sports psychologist fucking every goddamn day. Be like, am I going to go out there and break my fucking leg again?
Yeah. Yeah. There's got to be.
He's done for the season no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's the question. Like with today's era of modern medicine, is this a deal breaker? Is this a career ender? And my contention is no. Because where we are with sports medicine now, there's so much more than Theismann had.
Yeah.
That, and they could do so much more right on the sidelines to prep, somebody, and then they immediately get them into surgery. Like,
no, I agree.
Or 33 years ago when Theismann breaks his leg, the standards are basically archaic compared to they are now.
Yeah. Now I agree with that, but at the same time, don't forget, Alex Smith was never the greatest fucking quarterback in the world. He was the master of the 3-yard fucking dump, and he was never the best quarterback. And he's not that young either.
That had nothing to do with the coaching staff at San Francisco.
No, he's done it everywhere. He's fucking gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's check down. You might as well just rename him check down because he's always dumping it 3 yards here, 2 yards here. He won't go down the fucking field. Well, he definitely won't go down the field now, but he was never the greatest quarterback in the world. He was what they called a game manager. He was the Trent Dilfer of the modern era. Mm-hmm. And he was never that great. And he's really he was drafted the same year as Aaron Rodgers, and they're both getting up there in years. And I think that was the same draft that Roethlisberger was in as well, right? And all three of those guys are getting up there in age.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and chalk up everything you just said. I'm not an Alex Smith fan. I mean, the poor guy just snapped his leg in half, and you're fucking trashing him as a game manager. I mean, what the fuck? But being somebody who plays, not me, obviously, but being a fan who roots for a team that plays in the NFC East, fuck it. I'm going to speak like I'm on the team. I'm wearing more Eagle shit than they are right now. So fuck them. But hang on. What?
He's reading the chat.
So in the chat, one of our Star Wars loyal listeners, who is a Michigan fan, I'm just going to put that out there so you can automatically judge his character. He says that Alex Smith hit on him twice.
What the fuck?
Now, Big Lovin', I mean, he's Big Lovin'.
Yeah.
So
he is a sexy man.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, obviously. You can't carry a handle like Big Lovin' and not have the chops to pull it off, right? Yep. So Sean Bradley is a huge jerk from the Sixers, like tall white guy. Sean Bradley.
Why are we talking basketball?
I don't know.
Didn't we specify in the beginning of the show that we're not basketball people?
I don't know what happened. Anyway, but I knew Sean Bradley.
Yeah. So anyway, fuck Alex Smith. He sucks.
Indeed.
So
Big Lovin' 6 points.
So he may not ever be back, even if physically he can come back. He may always have that voice in the back of his head going, you're going to break your fucking leg again. And he's going to become an even worse quarterback than he already was. So we may have seen the last.
The big thing and why it's relevant for an Eagles fan is the fact that Washington was leading the division. And now they're going to have Colt McCoy, who is fucking terrible. He's fucking terrible.
Yeah,
and
he needs
to
go.
The whole thing with Colt McCoy, he won a Heisman. He came out of fucking Texas, and he's going back to Texas against the Cowboys. They think he's going to have like this homecoming thing. He's not good.
Yeah.
He's just not good.
How many teams has he played for? Like a dozen at least?
It's definitely been a handful.
Always in a backup status.
Yeah, he's not a starter. He doesn't have the chops for it.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of game manager that he was. I would give Alex Smith some credit for, he was able to work his receivers.
I'd take him over McCoy, that's for sure.
Yeah. And you have an aging running back and Adrian Peterson on a team. So there's nobody that's going to pick up that slack. I mean, he was slinging the ball around, and he was, obviously, they were 6-4 before that game, and then they lost. So, they'd won games, and they were probably the best team in the division. That's tough for me to say.
That's not saying much.
That's tough for me to say as a fucking Eagles fan, and unfortunately accurate though it may be. So, I don't know, but now with Smith going down, everyone's basically writing off Washington because nobody believes that they can win the division with Colt McCoy at quarterback.
I believe it.
And because the fucking Eagles couldn't beat Dallas the other night with their own.
Tune in to last week's All Things Star Wars podcast to hear all about the Eagles and the Cowboys from last week. Oh, but we've got another Eagles game that we have to get to this week because this is probably going to be like the main time killer of this podcast.
How far into it?
We're a half hour in. So now I actually watched this game. Like I said, this is the first football game that I've actually watched this season, start to finish. And
so it's Jason's fault is where I'm going to go with.
Yeah, because your boys weren't already like taking a nosedive before this week.
So a couple things. Thank God for truncated silence. I am, for those who don't know, we know the diehards know that I am a religious Eagles fan. I use the analogy, I love baseball. I'm a huge Philadelphia Phillies fan, always have been my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
If baseball is my wife, then football is my mistress.
Nice.
So the passion, you're passionate about football, but I just love baseball. So saying that, it's devastating for me to watch the Eagles lose at all, even growing up as a kid. We can get into a whole thing about the 700 level and where I grew up and the jail and all that other shit in the old Veterans Stadium. But the reality is I never root against my team. However, I looked at the schedule and said, okay, they're not going to beat this Saints team. Especially, they started off a little slow, but the Saints have been really, really hot. And Drew Brees is just fucking playing out of his mind right now.
Right. And you mentioned last week that you were certain that Brees was just going to tear up your secondary that was already just beat the fuck.
Yeah. The secondary, look, this is an Eagles team that has a lot of things going against it. Yeah. Being the Super Bowl champs, I was having a conversation with somebody today about it, and I really didn't think about it until I was making a drive in this morning to work. And this is the first Eagles team that has been this far in the playoffs in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Since 2004. So you're talking about a 14-year span with a completely different team, except for Doug Peterson, who was on the coaching staff for Andy Reid.
Yeah.
But you're talking about a completely different team, completely different players, completely different mindset. Well, a relatively different mindset, but they played a lot of games last season. And I noticed a couple things about the Eagles during that game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Carson Wentz is fully healthy. And if he is medically healthy, I just don't think that I don't think he's confident in his lower body.
Okay.
Because a lot of those throws that he was playing in a dome last night. Yeah. There's no reason, there's no wind, there's nothing at all to prevent that ball from carrying.
Yep.
So I think that throws that he made last year look easy. for whatever reason this year, he's shortened those throws.
Right. And it's funny you mentioned upper body because like he was running decently
Well,
last night from what I could tell.
I think it's not necessarily a running thing. I think it's more of a getting your feet set and having a good throwing position.
Yeah.
You know, if you're throwing flat foot or your balance isn't quite right because maybe you're pushing, maybe the knee brace is affecting his lower body. It's all these like he's not thinking about any of these things, but there's a little bit of mechanics there I think is a little bit off.
Right.
And you make a couple of bad throws. Now it's like this with quarterbacks in football and with pitchers in baseball. If you're not hitting your target, then you start trying to force it to your target. And as soon as you start forcing throws in the NFL, you're focusing on the throw and the throwing motion, you stop seeing safeties and you start throwing interceptions. And that's what's happening to Carson Wentz. I still think he's the best. He is the franchise quarterback, and I am still fully on the Wentz wagon. And as somebody who is pretty much willing to write this season off, because I've been an Eagles fan my whole life. I will continue to wear and bleed green, just because even if they don't break 500 this season. I dealt with this in 2004 after we went to the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
And there was a hangover season after that with all the TO bullshit and everything else. So the Super Bowl hangover is real. And I think a lot of that has to do with how many games you play. Now, for those of you who say, well, you know, they're all athletes and they all should be able to play that way. Look at how many teams haven't repeated. You know, if you get a team like, I hate to say this, I fucking hate to say it, but you look at New England. New England perennially goes to the fucking playoffs and advances.
Yeah.
They're a team that's built for the long haul. And aside from Brady and Gronk and a couple of really common names, there's a lot of nobodies on that team that offense makes look good. The Eagles don't have that right now. The Eagles I like Josh Adams. I think he's a good looking young running back. But he's young. He needs to get hit more.
Yeah.
You have a dependency on Zach Ertz, and when they shut down Zach Ertz in that Saints game. I mean, which sucks because I had him in fucking fantasy starting. Anyway, we'll get to fantasy here in a minute. But anyway, the long story short, I can make a list of excuses for the Eagles as long as my arm. But the reality is I knew they were going to lose. I thought they didn't even make the over. The Saints scored 48 points, and the Eagles put up a touchdown.
Yeah,
a rushing touchdown against the number one fucking Russian defense.
They looked lethargic. Their offense, like we knew that their defense was going to get run over. So they had to go in there with the mindset of we've got to put up a shitload of points to keep up with these motherfuckers. And their offense looked like they were just playing in slow motion. Like they looked lethargic. They weren't that animated. They didn't care. You know,
I think really what it was, and this is something the coaching staff I think really needs to address. And again, I'm disappointed in the fact that if anybody had to go off that team, I'd say it's Jim Schwartz. And I said it last week on the pod, the Star Wars pod, that he is you talk about game managers. I think Jim Schwartz is that guy. I think last year, the pressure and the substitutions and everything that the Eagles were doing is the reason that defense had success.
Right.
They still gave up a lot of points, though. If you really look at that season, and as we went through that season, there was a lot of scary games there.
Yeah.
And the defense, they were so reliant on them getting pressure on the quarterback. Any reasonable offense in this league of 31 other teams is going to figure out how to stop Fletcher Cox, how to stop Tim Jernigan, who's been injured, how to stop Bennett. And so you double up, you pull guards, you get the ball moving away from those guys, and now you've neutralized that line, or you've given your quarterback enough time to do something. And as soon as you got receivers that are getting into that second level, and you're relying on linebackers to tackle some of the fastest people on the planet, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And not to mention the whole fucking, at least the one thing I didn't see yesterday was the fucking, let's put 6 guys on a fucking first down marker bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to throw 16 inches of television off the fucking roof.
Yeah. But I mean, defense aside, your offense wasn't doing anything. They got that one reasonable drive, and that was it.
Oh my God.
Wait, you have free hands?
What? I got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. That was my son, Ben. Apparently, Dave's wife sent him in here to throw a potato. Long story. Tune into the All Things Star Wars podcast to get that full backstory. So, is she here?
Well, there was some potato throwing comments that were made in actually she was provoked by Bronco Fett.
Oh boy. All right. So anyway, yeah, your offense did not look good at all yesterday. And you can't blame Schwartz and the defense for that. I mean, maybe they didn't give him good field position most of the night, but still, the offense has got to do something at that point. And they didn't do fucking shit last night.
Well, I mean, there's a bevy of things that the Eagles haven't been doing right, even this season at all, besides the offense being fairly stagnant. Now, Wentz has actually had decent numbers, but they've been coming back in every game.
Yeah.
First quarters have been fucking terrible. Terrible. Whatever they're planning to go into the first quarter with and, scripting these plays, it's not working.
No.
Stop it.
They didn't get a first down outside of a penalty in the entire first quarter. Their first down came in the second quarter.
And they got the ball fucking they kicked. Oh, God.
Yeah.
What I was alluding to is special teams. Special teams that was so good last year seems to be not as good this year.
Yeah.
They're not getting run back touchdowns. They had their best return of the season was in this game with Clement, and it was only 48 yards. So they had a lot of those returns last year. So special teams isn't as strong, and it's just overall, this is not the team that won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. But saying that, they're not out of the division yet.
Right. And that was going to be my next question. Like, is their season over?
No.
Or, I mean, do you still feel like they can still win this division and make the playoffs and make a run at the end?
That's two completely different things. Is their season over? No, it's not. Obviously, because it's only week 11, whatever. So no, their season's not over. Do I think that they can make a run? I do not.
No.
I think that the teams that are in NFC East, or the teams that are in NFC right now, there's a lot of teams that are better than the Eagles.
Yeah.
And unless they pull like a New York Giants where they come in the wild card position and suddenly make a run and end up beating the fucking Patriots in the Super Bowl. I mean, that was just stupid that even was able to happen.
Yeah.
So do I think that this Eagles team can pull it off? No, not when you have practice squad players in your secondary. You can't win football games in the NFL with practice players. You just can't.
It's pretty rough.
I mean, there's, we're beyond a point now where you're going to get a player from somewhere. Not unless you fucking pull the Hall of Fame jacket off of Brian Dawkins and fucking get him to suit up. Weapon X. Let's see it. Bring it.
Yep. So moving on from the Eagles, unless you had anything else to say.
There's so much to say, but only so much time.
Yep. So we are running low on time. Great news. 49ers were on a bye this week, so they did not lose. So, yeah.
Good job, 49ers. Good job.
So
now, in that same ilk, I know there's some Raiders fans that are listening right now.
Oh, and I loved your next note, by the way, because I saw that on TV.
So,
Jesus Christ.
For the Raiders fans out there, can you please explain to me why fucking Chucky was celebrating his second win of the season like he just won the fucking Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't dump the Gatorade on him.
I know. I was waiting
he's
for
jumping up, chest bumping people, fucking giant smiles. I mean, like, what in the fuck, dude?
You're like 2-8 or whatever. And you're
that was
fucking...
their second win of the season.
And who did they beat? Like
the Cardinals, the hapless Cardinals.
Wow. So good job, Raiders.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, good. That fucking Gruden, John Gruden is one of the most overrated head coaches ever.
Yeah.
The fucking Tampa Bay team that he won that Super Bowl with.
Tony Dungy's team?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was Tony Dungy's fucking team. He had no business fucking winning that Super Bowl. The fact that it came through the Eagles was even more irritating.
Well, the funny thing was, the running joke for years was when Tony Dungy went over to the Colts and they kept floundering in the AFC Championship, always losing to the Patriots or whatever. The running joke was, hey, does fucking John Gruden need to roll in here and like take this team to the Super Bowl? What's going on?
Yeah, it was so Raiders cosplay, Star Wars cosplay notwithstanding, they're a fucking bad team.
Yeah.
Gruden is a bad coach. He is a 1990s style coach. Now, I'll give you this. Gruden he would be like, put him on your staff as an OC, put him on your staff to work with quarterbacks. His analysis is fucking fantastic. Like when he was on Monday Night Football, he would do like the quarterback thing where he would break down the film and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's some great footage if you want to learn about quarterbacks and offenses and shit like that. The way he breaks things down is excellent.
Yeah.
That does not translate to being a fucking head coach. He was on the sideline fucking getting strangled by one of the fucking players, or they were trying to strangle him anyway. Apparently somebody had to grab him by the neck and fucking pull him apart. In the same game that he decides he's going to celebrate his fucking Super Bowl victory with his second win as a Raider, back as a Raiders coach. He's going to be done after the season. It was a.
You think he's only going to last this season?
It was a hope and a fucking prayer, and they're not going to bring him to fucking
after
Vegas.
That big fucking contract they gave him.
They're not going to bring him to Vegas. I'm telling you, they're not.
Wasn't that like a 10-year deal or some shit that
Probably.
they signed?
Listen, any deal that is made in sports anymore is barely as good as the paper it's written on.
True, but most of these are always stuck with these guaranteed amounts of money too.
That's fine.
So if the Raiders kick him to the curb, they still got to pay him like $30 million.
This is the Raiders we're talking about. Of course they're going to pay him.
Yeah,
they'll pay to get rid of him. Basically, it's Chip Kelly style. What happened in fucking San Fran?
Oh, Jesus Christ! Don't even get me started.
Fuck Chip Kelly.
Yeah,
I hate that bastard.
I agree. So, all right, moving on. You got some fantasy blurbs in here. You want to get through those real quick before we call it quits?
Yeah. Just to throw some shit in there. So, all right, we're not even going to get to our topic, are we?
Probably not. We're gonna have to save that for next week.
So, just from a fantasy standpoint, I play daily fantasy. So, just to give you some like standpoint on what I'm doing in fantasy, and then Jason will probably do something similar next year. Probably not daily fantasy though.
But we are doing a Sidebar Cantina fantasy football league next year.
Yes, we are. So I play daily fantasy in a league with a bunch of maintenance guys I used to be in a squadron with. So I won some money 2 weeks in a row and daily. So I'm pretty happy about that. For all the years I've played daily fantasy, which is I think I'm in my 4th or 5th year.
Yeah.
I've done better than broke even every season. So nice. I'm paying for next season with money I won from the season prior. So
there you go.
I can't complain about that.
Free entertainment.
Exactly. It's like going to the penny slots with a $10 voucher.
Yep.
So I did win some money in there. I'm not going to break that down. So in the squadron that we used to be in together in the fantasy football league, the Alert Penguins, I'm still in that league. Jason retired out of that league when he moved on to another squadron. We keep retirees in the league until somebody desperately wants to get in, and then we gracefully bow out. But I've been in that league for 13 years now, so it would be tough for me to let go. Although I'm letting go of my commissioner duties, I'm letting Jose pick those up because I just don't want to deal with it. But I need Todd Gurley to snap it tonight, Alex Smith style. I really do. Is that too soon?
No.
All right. Yeah, like particularly in the first quarter before he can score a bunch of touchdowns, because I'm right on a bubble in that league. I'm playing against Justin Epperson, and like I have a 27-point lead on him right now, but he's got Gurley left, and I don't have anybody. So I really need Gurley to have a bad night tonight.
Yeah.
So,
and speaking of tonight, it's gonna be a hell of a game.
It's KC versus they're both what
9-1,
9-1, I think. Yeah. So
like one of the first times in NFL history this has happened. Like two teams with this good of a record playing this late in the season. And I mean, I got to give it to the Rams. One thing that I'll add is my grandfather, my 83-year-old grandfather, has been a Rams fan his whole life, or I guess as long as the Rams have been around. How long have they been around?
A while. I mean, they've been.
Yeah, again from Southern California. My grandfather, huge Rams fan, and he's still with us, and I'm so happy to see the Rams doing so well. So at this point, with the 49ers out of it, the Eagles, let's face it, probably out of it, I definitely want to see the Rams do well at this point, just for my grandfather's sake, so he can see them maybe win one more Super Bowl before he goes.
Yeah,
so.
it would be. Yeah, it would be nice.
Yep.
I don't have any hate for the Rams, honestly, but it'll be a good game tonight. I probably won't watch it.
Yeah,
I'll probably go to bed early.
Yeah, we'll be here and then we'll call it quits and
then
sleepy time.
And then go to bed.
So all right. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm in another league with the IG guys, and I'm one of my 7.
How many leagues are you in?
It's just 3.
Jesus, I could barely keep up with one fucking league.
4, including the one I was in, the daily shit I was doing with Brinzer, but he's deployed now, so he can't play. So yeah, I started that IG league. I started Breeze. Like Breeze is my quarterback in that league. So
you won just with him probably.
Basically, yeah. It was, and it's not even a PPR league. It was just straight points. Ugh, God, gross. And let's face it, when it comes to fantasy stuff, like it's business. You can't, like, I know a lot of guys that, like, they're 49ers fans or the Eagles fans and they draft all these fucking players from those teams. That's just dumb.
Yeah.
Like, the squadron league that we're in, there's a fair amount of money to the victor. Jason knows he won that a couple times.
Yep.
So it's definitely, when there's money on the line, all bets are off.
Yeah.
But in a particularly harsh game, I still won't draft any Cowboys. I don't own any Cowboys.
Yeah.
I think I might have had 2 Cowboys in 13 years of playing fantasy. So
yep.
That is a hard and fast rule. Plus, no Cowboys have been fucking good enough to draft anyway.
Yeah, not in the last decade anyway.
Except for Ezekiel Elliott, but fuck that guy.
Yeah. Yep. So that being said, we did have a topic planned for this week, but I think we'll push it off to next week if depending on what happens in sports. But I do want to have a conversation at some point about DirecTV and the NFL Sunday Ticket, and basically the antiquated way that NFL football is being delivered to us nowadays. I mean, not even just the NFL, other sports as well, be it NCAA football or fucking basketball or baseball, because in the age of the internet and streaming media, like this fucking DirecTV bullshit, that's for the fucking birds. So like we are way beyond that at this point. But the NFL, I think it's because they have a lot of these real close deals with like the local affiliates, like your CBSs, your Foxes, ESPN with Monday Night Football. They have to keep a balance between their deal with DirecTV and then whatever deal they have with those fucking 3 stations.
Well, let's face it, they have hookups with Fox, with CBS. NBC has a Sunday Night Football gig. ESPN has the Monday Night Football shit. So they're spread out, but DirecTV is one of those few that are carrying damn near everything. But it's not just them. And again, we'll spend some more time on this a little bit later.
Yeah, because I'd love to talk about Red Zone too. Red Zone is a big thing.
But I will say this: it was brought up in the chat actually a little ways back. I just happened to glance at it. But the Hulu Live subscription that I have, and apparently some other guys have, it's you can get all those stations. You can get local Fox station and local Channel 6 and
for your own local area, or for everybody.
No, for your own local area. You select which region you want to be in. So if you wanted to be a local California, I think it would permit that.
Well, that'll be a discussion to have next week then, because
but it's definitely like ESPN, like it's still, we're in the infancy of the where you have a real true a la carte type viewing experience. The packages are getting more diverse, and it's actually becoming way more cheaper than cable, for sure.
Oh yeah. And I mean, but right now, if you want to see, or if you want access to every single NFL game every week, you have to have that DirecTV Sunday ticket,
especially for out of market games.
Yeah. So that'll be something to talk about next week. So we'll save those thoughts for then. Hope you guys liked our inaugural episode of Sidebar Cantina Sports. This is our beta test, as Dave liked to refer to it. And, give us feedback, hit us up. Shit, should we make extra social media just for the sports, or direct them to All Things Star Wars?
Well, I think that's okay for now, but if we decide we like this thing, then we'll probably have to make some more social media for it.
Yeah. So
it'll just be one more thing to have to follow or ignore, like we have been with our Instagram shit.
Yeah. So in the meantime, if you do want to get a hold of us for whatever reason, you can follow us on Instagram
at the social media, bitch.
At All Things Star Wars Pod. Also on Twitter at All Things SW Pod. You can email us at allthingsstarwarspod@gmail.com. And hit us up in the All Things Star Wars Sidebar Cantina private Facebook group to chat with a bunch of other degenerates who like sports and also like Star Wars. So with that, I think it was pretty good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed this first episode, but we've also got our Star Wars episode to record right after this. So,
if you're watching on YouTube, stick around.
Yes,
we'll be back.
Yes, we're going to end this stream, go right into the next one. And until then, Dave, fuck off. No, you're supposed to respond with,
fuck you. I don't have, I got nothing. I'll have something next week.
All right. Again, beta test, folks.
Okay, now what do I click?
Yeah. All right. I guess we're done.